Alright, here we go. Hi, everyone, and welcome to TWF Rampage or Ramfru. I, Mike Lane, Tony Schiavone, and Wade Barrett here. And today on Rampage or Ramfru, we're going to have Godzilla or Godzilla, King of the Fiends here. Mike Lane says. You got that right, Tony Schiavone says. We're going to have Godzilla or Godzilla, King of the Fiends, or Kaiser the Fiends here today on Rampage or Ramfru. And the one thing I do want to say is that hopefully, that Godzilla or Godzilla got his tail bind under run and lead. Well, Wade Barrett said the first time I got to work with you, Mike Lane, and you, Tony Schiavone, in my 2 different run in WWE, I mostly worked with Mauro Amaro, and then later on with Vic Joseph, and then later on got to work with Michael Cole, and now work with Corey Graves. But you know how fun that goes, Wade Barrett says. And I know most folks would think they'd see Montel or Thaddeus Porter here. Well, yeah, you will see him here next week. I know Chris Jericho does a show in AEW, but we don't know where Chris Jericho's doll at to pull him out so he could do it, Wade Barrett says. So we're going to go to ring now. Well, all right, Mike Lane said, it's good to have you, Wade Barrett. It's good to have you here on It's good to have you here. Here today here on Rampage or Ramfru. I understand we got a pissed off Drew McIntyre or Drew Galway, whatever you want to call him. So yesterday, Drew McIntyre says, Godzilla just could not let me win. The King of the Fiends, the Kaiser of the Fiends, whatever you want to bloody call him. So yesterday, this deadweight, if that's what you can even call him, a deadweight, his tail broke off. And I thought that would mean giving me, the win. But no, Godzilla or Godzilla has to come up with some way to fuck me over. You have been in the TWF since between 98 YL. You won a shitload of winnings and almost won almost every winnings the TWF had. And almost wrestled almost every match there was. It's almost like some of these folks in the past, like Godzilla, they just want to keep on holding on to the past, on all the past things that they did back in the day, and somehow want everyone into believing that they're still good when they're not. So, if you're nowadays or now doll that someone at Playmates made and your tail can handle it, I want you to come down now. When you don't have your foster sister Astronema or Corone or Ecliptor or Algar or your foster brother Andros or anyone else backing you up. Alright, I have heard enough of your bullshit. Yeah, yesterday wasn't a good start for me. Someone at Playmates fucked up on my tail and it broke. And it took both over sticky ooze and film to keep it on. To this Drew McIntyre, Drew Galloway, or whatever your true name is, you aren't really anything outstanding to speak of. I mean, yeah, don't get me wrong. You are a good wrestler, a good fighter, or you wouldn't be in a skilled wrestling business. But we all do know where you came from. You started out in BBC Wrestling, or a lot of wrestlers tend to start out there from the 4-1 Kingdom, which Highland seems to be a settling, or at least whatever of, I don't know. And then you got your first run in WWE on Raw with David Taylor, who had taught you how to wrestle. And David Taylor's run in WWE. Then you were put on SmackDown for the first time, called The Chosen One, and you were going to do all these great things. Yeah, one-time WWE Interland Body Fighter, one-time WWE SmackDown Tag Team Fighter with Cody Rhodes. Then you were in an MIB. That team broke up. You were fired. Then you went to what? TNAW, or at the time, it was TNAW still at the time, and you won the TNAW heavyweight winnings. Then you went to EPW, and you won EPW heavyweight winnings. Then you got your 2-diff run in WWE. You put on NXT the first time. You won the WWE NXT heavyweight winnings. Then they put you on Raw for the 2-diff time. And it was around that time you won the WWE Raw Tag Team winnings with Dolph Ziggler. Became a 2-time WWE heavyweight fighter when you were on Raw, believe it or not. Then you were put on SmackDown for the 2-diff time. And nothing ever really worked. You fought Roman Reigns, never won your winnings back. Then you were put back on Raw for the 3-diff time. And this is when you became rich, when you couldn't beat Roman Reigns, when you couldn't win any winnings, either the WWE Heavyweight and World Heavyweight winnings or WWE World Heavyweight winnings. Then you shifted heel, guilted everyone in WWE, guilted CM Punk, Seth Rollins, guilted Roman Reigns, guilted The Rock, guilted Brock Lesnar before they fired him. And anyone else that you felt was supposedly the grounds to why you didn't become a 3-time WWE heavyweight fighter and a 1-time world heavyweight fighter. So let me tell you something. Put up or shut up. And I'm sick and tired of hearing you bitch and rant about how nothing in your life has gone right. Well, guess what? Life isn't fair. It's not fair to me. It's not fair to you. You want to enter a match with me? You want to wrestle the King of the Fiends? Because I have made a lot more films with Toho and Sony and Warner Brothers. So I think that would mean that I was more greater than you. So let's go do it. Well, we know we got the Fight Keeper in the ring now. You know, Danny. Well, let's see if this match is going to happen. God Jorah hit Drew McIntyre with his tail and knocked him down. Mike Lane says God Jorah, or Godzilla, whatever you want to call him, has got the upper hand on the Highlandish fighter Drew McIntyre, Mike Lane says. That's right, Tony Schiavone says. There are some folks in this world who think that Drew McIntyre is going to go to AEW next after his 2-diff run WWE comes to an end. Tony Schiavone said. And somehow Shao Kahn and Anthony Kong can somehow, and Christopher Daniels can somehow am up getting a deal to outdo the Ariel Adele, Patrick Whitesell, Mark Shapiro, Nick Khan, Hunter Hearst Helmsley deal. You know. Oh, and right now Drew McIntyre just knocked down Godzilla. Or God Jorah, Mike Lane said. First off, Wade Barrett says, I don't really think that Shao Kahn or Anthony Khan or Christopher Daniels or QT Marshall, Sensei Dutt, or Jeff Jarrett, you know, or Kenny Omega, or Matt Jackson, or Nick Jackson, or Jeff Jarrett can undo any deal that Ariel Adele, Patrick Whitesell, Mark Shapiro, Nick Kong, and Hunter Helmsley, or Road Dogg, or Shawn Michaels, or Michael P.X. Hayes, or William Regal come up with. Oh, he just knocked him down again, Wade Barrett says. I don't think Drew McIntyre's going to be leaving WWE anytime soon, Wade Barrett says. He just hit him with the future shot DDT that he worked in his first run in WWE. Mike Lane says, that's right, Tony Schiavone said. Will Drew McIntyre beat God Jorah, King of the Fiends, Kaiser of the Fiends? Well, if it does, it would be one fellow 4-1 Kingdomer, getting a win over a deadweight or a Lindworm or whatever he is, Wade Barrett says. 1, 2, 3. Ding, ding, ding. Here is your winner, Drew McIntyre. Or Drew McIntyre, or Drew Galloway, whatever ring name you want to call him by, Mike Lane said. He beat Godzilla, Claymore kick, and down goes God Jorah again. Yeah, Tony Schiavone says. We all know at the end of the day of Drew McIntyre, Drew Galloway, whatever you want to call him, we're not saying he's not a skilled wrestler or a skilled fighter. He is. I mean, he is a former WWE heavyweight fighter 2 times. He is a former WWE NXT heavyweight fighter, a former TNAW heavyweight fighter 1 time, a former EPW heavyweight fighter 1 time, and also a former WWE Indoor Land Body fighter and a 2-time WWE, WWE SmackDown Raw Tag Team fighter with Cody Rhodes and Dolph Ziggler. Tony Schiavone said. So we do know he's also a Kingly Thunder winner as well. He's also a Galled and a Boundary fighter. I don't think so. But his behavior, his mindset is truly something to be ashamed of, Tony Schiavone says. You could be right about that, Mike and Tony. At the end of the day, Wade Barrett said, Drew McIntyre, Drew Galloway, whatever you want to call them, same wrestler, same fighter. He beat Godzilla, God Jorah, King of the Fiends or Kaiser of the Fiends. If this is going to be a one-off, or are they both going to have a bind with each other? Your guess is good as mine, Wade Barrett says. And speaking of that, we're going to have Mike today is going to be talking with God Jorah. Thank you, Mike Lane and Tony Schiavone. I'm going to be talking with, Godzilla or God Jorah here today on Dynamite or Mike. Alright, Godzilla or God Jorah, whatever you want to be called by. We do know that yesterday on Friday Night SmackDown, your tail broke off, but somehow you beat Drew McIntyre. So here today on Rampage or Ramfru, Drew McIntyre beat you. How do you think that worked? Well, to tell you the truth, Mike, today, I don't know how that happened. I don't know how that happened. I won some and lost some. Keep in mind, I lost about 2 fights to Mothra, and I lost at least 1 match to King Kong, and that's only in my films. But mostly, I didn't lose many times in my films. But when it came to wrestling matches, I won some and I lost some. Yeah, Drew McIntyre is going to talk about how he beat the King of the Fiends. He beat the Kaiser of the Fiends. Great for him. But at the end of the day, he's still going to be bitching and ranting about why he never won the TWF heavyweight... How he never won the TWF heavyweight winnings for the 3rd time, or the World Heavyweight for the first time, and never became a 3-time WWE heavyweight fighter, or a 1-time World Heavyweight fighter. At the end of the day, yeah, Drew McIntyre, Drew Galloway, he started this with me, Mike. But I'm going to be the one, Mike, today to end it. Well, that's my talk with Godzilla, or God Jorah. Back to you, Mike Lane and Tony Schiavone. Thank you, Mike, today for talking with Godzilla, or God Jorah, here today on Rampage or Ramfru. And that's all the time we got it for Rampage or Ramfru. I, Mike Lane, Tony Schiavone, and Wade Barrett We hope you like Rampage or Ramfru, and we'll see you tomorrow for Collision or Hit.